What does your post-apocalyptic world look like? A world where petrol has run out, diesel has run out, where fuel stations are rusting? Well, if it looks anything like the Audi e-tron GT, I don't think you should be complaining too much. After the e-tron and the e-tron Sportback, it's now the turn of the full electric car from Audi. And this e-tron GT shares nothing in common except for the name with the SUVs. In fact, the Volkswagen Group J1 platform is shared with the Porsche Taycan. So you have the same wheelbase, 2900 mm, the same battery packs, the same power output, the same range, the same performance. Everything is identical, and that can only mean one thing, which we will come to soon after you hit that bell icon, subscribe to the Evo India channel, and if you like this video, do remember to give us a thumbs up. The e-tron GT, it drives really well, much better than the other Audi e-trons, and that's down to the fact that this is a car, it's not an SUV. And also, you get that sense from every control that this has been designed as a Porsche, which is obviously to Audi's benefit. You get that crispness, that directness, that perfect weighting to every control. It just feels so good. You would think an electric car without a V10 or a V8 engine would just be boring, but actually no. There is of course that novelty factor. To be attacking corners in absolute silence, and also all this weight low down, it gives it terrific grip. But even accounting for all those EV traits, the e-tron GT is such a nice GT car. Now this is not a sports car per se. This is not an R8 replacement. This is more like a RS7 replacement. So when the combustion engine disappears from the RS7, this is what you'll be able to buy. 4 seats, 4 doors, and grand touring ability. And the first thing that you need for grand touring ability, of course you need speed, which we'll come to, but you also need good ride quality. These roads, they're not in the best state after the monsoons, and doesn't look like anybody is going to even take care of these roads, so it'll only get worse. And the GT, it just rides so well with such fluidity. I've kept it in comfort. Comfort works best. There is no float, there is no wallow. There's just nice, precise damping, no noise through the suspension. Did I say it is very nice? Well, if I haven't, I must add again, yes, it is very nice. Much like the Porsche Taycan, the e-tron GT, the body is a mixture of steel and aluminum. Up front, you have aluminum double wishbones, while the rear, it's a complex multi-link setup with 3-chamber air suspension and adaptive dampers fitted all round. Now, this is not the RS. This is the GT. The RS gets a sports differential, whereas this, it uses mere torque vectoring, and this is an Audi, so you get quattro all-wheel drive. Now this is also an Audi, so you can't really play around with it. So even if you switch off the ESP, it's not like you'll be able to hang the tail out. There is a lot of power, there is a lot of get up and go, but you can't really hang the tail out on this car. I don't know about the Taycan if you can do that. Maybe in the RS e-tron you might be able to, but not on this. Though, am I complaining? Not really, because the way it grips around corners is seriously impressive. There's a 93 kilowatt hour battery slung between the two axles, of which 83.7 kilowatt hours is used to power the two motors. The front motor, it makes 235 bhp. The rear motor, it makes 429 bhp. Now, both those don't add up and give you supercar rivaling performance figures because the batteries, it can't produce so much of power. So the total output, the system output, is 469 bhp. In dynamic mode, you also get launch control, plus you get overboost. Now that's available for 2.5 seconds, and that raises power from 469 to 523 bhp. Step on it. And when you use launch control and the dynamic mode, that's when the lower gear on the rear axle engages to give you this really strong initial acceleration. 0 to 100 in 4.1 seconds, and that is quick. Of course, when you use the e-tron GT in that manner, you're not going to get much range. The range is going to drop like a stone. Now, the claimed range, according to the WLTP figures, are between 388 to 500 kilometers. Though, in reality, you'll be lucky if you get 350 kilometers. But then again, 350 kilometers is enough. When you're using an electric car, obviously you do have to plan ahead. So if you're doing Mumbai-Pune runs, if you're going to do just Mumbai-Pune and not too much of driving around in Mumbai or Pune, whichever way you're coming to, you can actually do that round trip and then get back home and charge it on the wall charger that Audi will provide with an e-tron GT. So just make sure you know where all the chargers are, or make sure you know where all the Audi dealerships are, because all Audi dealerships have chargers and now they are being ramped up to DC fast chargers. So you can go there, get some more juice and get on your way. Man, these electric cars are fast. Shockingly fast. And that's despite this powertrain not being allowed to use all of its capability, because that is reserved for the RS. The RS makes something like 560 bhp, 0 to 100 in 3.3 seconds. This 4.1 seconds, but it's still plenty quick. I've not driven the RS, so I wouldn't even know what to compare it with. But here, with this e-tron GT, it's as quick as, say, an RS7, a fractionally slower than an RS7. And it takes less effort to deploy all of that power. And like I said, this ride, man, it's really good. Over these broken roads, despite 20-inch wheels, it's just going so well, so easily. The steering, we've always complained about steerings on Audis. And here too, there's not much in the way of feel, but in terms of the precision, the immediacy, it's so nice, so nice. I don't know who should be more upset. Should Porsche be upset that the Audi is now driving like a Porsche, or should Audi be upset that the Audis are now driving like Porsches? I should think it should be Porsche who should be upset, because Audi, well, I think they've benefited enormously by having a platform engineered by Porsche and to deliver all of the driving thrills that we expect and demand out of Porsche. Okay, these paddle shifters. I just tapped it twice while going into a corner before realizing that this is an electric vehicle. So this tapping is not going to do anything. All it does is it adjusts the level of regeneration, but you can't adjust it to the level that you get that extreme regeneration. So every time you get off the throttle pedal, it will slow down. That one pedal driving that they talk about in electric cars, you can't get that on the e-tron. But then again, I've never really liked one pedal driving. I prefer to apply the brakes when I want to slow down. So in that sense, again, I can't complain about this car. Not at all. I must talk about the design of the e-tron GT. From the outside, it looks really stunning. Now, I think this color is the absolute dullest color that you could photograph or even film, especially out here with the greens. This tactical green is just blending right in, and it's not even a green that pops out. It's sort of like a camo green. I'm not a fan of this, but I've seen the e-tron, the GT in red, and it looks stunning. And I'm sure a brighter color will really make all the details stand out. This is a very, very attractive looking car. But on the interior, it actually looks like a normal Audi. Now, that has obviously been done for a reason, so that you don't shock your customers and you really ease them in gently into electric car ownership. So if you're used to any Audi, even an A6 or a Q8, this is going to look very familiar. Operating it also is the same as any other Audi. No problem at all. You get a few additional displays, obviously, for the charging and for the battery status. But that apart, this is just like any other Audi to operate, which I like, because you jump in right away, you immediately know where everything is, you immediately know how to raise the suspension. This has got the optional air suspension, so you can raise the suspension for Indian roads. I've not had to use it even once, only to figure out whether it's actually working, and it is there. So to hit it when you actually spot a big speed breaker, but it doesn't touch over anything. It just works really well on Indian roads. No problems. And the thing is that there's always this fear with electric vehicles that, is this technology suitable for India? What will happen if you hit the underbody, for instance? Will it run out of range? That range anxiety, all of those 100 questions you have when it comes to an electric car. But when you start driving, out of the first half an hour, first hour, all you're focusing on is just how easy it is to drive, just how quick it is, just how suited this is to being a grand tourer, and enjoying the aspects of an electric car that are just so cool. The silence, for instance, the immediate turn of speed, the power when you put your foot down. Every single time it shocks you. This is so cool. Now, before you think that I've gone completely mad, of course, I miss the noise of a V10 engine, for instance, in that R8. That's crazy. That's something that you will never ever forget. But then times change, I guess, and you look for new pleasures in life. In fact, if you ask me, I would like that whine of the electric motors to actually reduce a bit more, so that you don't hear anything. Deathly silence. Would I recommend an e-tron GT? Well, that's actually a very good question, and I fear I actually might. I actually might recommend an e-tron GT over something like an RS7. You can actually adjust the level of noise that you get inside the cabin. So in individual mode, you have the drive system, you have the suspension and the sound profile. So right now it's on subdued, but when you stick it into dynamic, you can hear even more of the car. And that instant torque, 630 Newton meters, it just gives it so much of shove and bite out of corners. Those G forces that actually attack you. I just look at how it rides over these slightly rutted roads. It's an uncharacteristic calmness for an Audi. What a benefit of being part of the larger group that also includes Porsche. It's cool to think of the e-tron GT as a replacement to the R8. The R8 from that noisy, violent past, and the e-tron GT carrying the same speed forward into the calmer, saner future. But truth be told, the e-tron GT is more an RS7 Sportback replacement, and it does the GT brief even better. It is calmer, it is more comfortable, it rides much better, and the linearity to the steering, to the damping, the remarkable body control, it really raises things up a notch. And most importantly, it's also priced really well, 20 lakhs cheaper than the RS7 Sportback at 1.8 crore rupees. This actually is a really interesting proposition. And if I were in the market for a grand tourer, a very fast grand tourer, I might actually pick the e-tron GT over the V8 engined RS7 Sportback. I don't believe I'm saying that, and I really need some more time to process all the information. But man, this thing, it's really incredible. If you're all going to be moving to the electric future, I'm not going to be complaining too much. I might keep an IC engine car in the garage, but this is good. This is really good.